So hi, I am Carly Yancey, and today I am going to be talking about group communications and the Redfin Zillow lawsuit. So on February 11th of 2025 this year, an announcement was made, and it was basically announcing that they were going to begin a partnership with Redfin. Zillow and Redfin are both websites that specialize in like rentals or like home ownership. Advertising basically for those things. This kind of website is called an internet listing service, an ILS. Anyways, they announced a partnership with Redfin, basically saying that the two companies are going to combine their databases specifically for multifamily properties. Now, this from a surface level seems like a pretty straightforward, normal agreement. However, the crux of the issue lies in the fact that whenever this partnership was made with Zillow and Redfin, basically Zillow was effectively eliminating all of their competition in the multifamily property advertising space for other ILSs, so internet listing services. On September 30th of 2025, the Federal Trade Commission announced that they have filed a lawsuit against Zillow and Redfin for, quote, an unlawful agreement that eliminates Redfin as a competitor in the market for placing advertising of rental housing on internet listing services, the websites that millions of Americans use to find their next rental home. So let's talk about the groups that are involved in this first. So there's Zillow, there's Redfin, there are the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and the affected parties, which was going to be the renters and the advertisers that use these products, this company's products. But as a whole, as a conglomerate, they're task-oriented. Their job is to manage listings. Their job is to market and advertise themselves and to help advertisers, their customers, advertise, basically. So they are going to be task-oriented. That is what their job is. Their job is to make more money, basically. Same for the FTC. And for the consumers, the renters, and the property owners, it's kind of a looser group, and kind of it's like there's not really going to be like a clear leader. There's not going to be a whole lot of communication. So those are the primary groups. You have Redfin, you have Zillow, you have the FTC, and you have the affected parties. Let's talk a little bit about some of the characteristics. Keaton and Beck hypothesized that when something goes south within an organization, it is because of a failing of one or more of the group characteristics. There are obviously other characteristics at play here. I personally believe that the biggest one at play here is going to be the group structure. A major part of both group structures with Zillow and Redfin, these are the two that I'm focusing on in this section here, a major part of both of the group structures involves contributing to the monopolization of the housing market. Expansion is a norm for both of these groups, but it has come at the cost of the advertisers, the Redfin employees that lost jobs, and the renters across the US, and the property owners. So, that being said, let's look at some of the contextual factors. As stated by Keaton Beck, again, a group is not a distinct entity with an environment that separates it from all other groups. So, that being said, embeddedness has a pretty big hand in this situation. Both companies are major players in the housing industry. They own several other websites, and they're also working together. And as being such major players in the housing industry, they're actively contributing to ongoing housing crises, which, like I said before, it's only been exacerbated by their actions. The influence of technology is also really worth highlighting in this particular situation. These companies function almost completely online. That is what they do. It is Zillow.com, it is Apartments.com, it is Renting.com. It is Redfin.com. And so the plethora of websites that they have creates the illusion of business competition, creates this idea that, oh, like if I go to Redfin, I might see some other other rental properties that might not be on Zillow, but that's not the case, because now it is all the same. You've created the idea of business competition, you've created the idea of fairness for outward facing people, for renters, for advertisers, when really it's all one and the same. You've monopolized the market. There is no competition. So, the decision that was made by Redfin and Zillow, as discussed earlier, the decision was made by Zillow to further eliminate competition by entering into this partnership with Redfin. It was misleading and actively contributes to one of the largest crises affecting the United States, which is the housing market crisis. The decision was made to expand the group's size and influence, and subsequently their influence on the market. The decision was made to monopolize. Personally, I think I've made this pretty clear. Being too large can be a bad thing. By eliminating your competition, again, you have effectively monopolized the market. It's not a good thing. Because again, like I said, now Zillow has the opportunity to continue raising their cost to advertise on these websites as much as they possibly want. And at the end of the day, the renters are the ones that are going to have to absorb that cost, making it harder for them to afford other things that contribute to the economy. They're going to have to start scrimping on gas. They're going to have to start buying cheaper groceries at the store. They're not able to contribute or go out as much and contribute to their local economy. So, that being said, by this partnership that Zillow and Redfin have entered into, it eventually ends up affecting the regular person. Because of the housing crisis that's going on, because of this monopoly that they've created, it affects us. It affects regular people, everyday people. And so I think a focus on ethics and integrity is completely lost here, and it is what is needed in this situation. To conclude, it is my personal belief that with these massive corporations, considerations need to be made about the effect of their structural and financial decisions, how they affect the general population. Because again, like I stated, this decision, this partnership that they have entered into effectively harms the general population, and it harms the greater population as well. Local economies are going to suffer and have been suffering because of the decisions that these giant corporations have made. So that is my presentation. I hope you learned something really interesting, and thank you so much. Have a good day.